The Tom Pendergast story is one that a lot of people don't know in Kansas City, and I'm surprised.
It's a very complex story. It would be great if Kansas City's story was this man of benevolence and this wonderful story, but it did cause a lot of problems for a lot of people that weren't on his team. It's not good or bad. He was this kind of beautiful medley of both.
In the 1890s, young Tom Pendergast worked in a West Bottoms tavern owned by his older brother, Jim. The West Bottoms was an immigrant section of town located at the bottom of the bluffs overlooking the Missouri River. As city council alderman, Jim taught Tom how to deliver votes and build political power. But in 1911, Jim fell gravely ill and named Tom his successor.
Pendergast was not supposed to be the political boss. It was supposed to be his brother. His brother dies early, and Pendergast starts to take over the machine. It had not been anything like what Tom then creates. And all of that is about votes, and Pendergast delivers votes.
The Democrats had divided into two factions, the Goats, led by Pendergast, and the rivals, the Rabbits. Pendergast stepped down from the city council to focus on gaining complete power over the party. When a charter passed in 1925, placing the local government under the control of a city manager, Pendergast saw his chance. He seized control of the city and destroyed the Rabbits in the process.
It's staggering to the point where you would have county elections and he'd deliver 98% of the vote. So once that starts happening, then people have no choice but to pay homage to this guy because he is delivering.
Pendergast portrayed a common touch by paying medical bills, providing jobs, and hosting attention-grabbing Thanksgiving and Christmas dinners for the poor.
Like everybody, he's a complex character. And my wife's grandfather got a job from Pendergast, went up those steps down on Main Street to his office, past Eli, the bodyguard, and said, I need a job. This was during the Depression. He was able to feed his family and house his family because of Tom Pendergast.
Behind Tom Pendergast is possibly one of the most corrupt men in the United States, a man named Henry McElroy. McElroy is Pendergast's consigliere. He follows and obeys Pendergast's wishes, but takes them to the 10th, 15th degree. This is a very smart man, corrupt to the core.
He was really the guy who took Pendergast's vision for what he wanted to have happen in Kansas City and made it happen as city manager. When he came in, he kicked the mayor out of his office and made him sit near the steno pool. And while he took over the giant office and basically put his feet up and said, I'm in control here. So he really was the guy who, the boots on the ground that made the Pendergast machine function in Kansas City, for better or for worse. For worse, actually.
There's nothing like it in modern history that I've seen like Pendergast. I mean, you had Tammany Hall, you had the Mayor Daley out of Chicago, but even those did not have the full cooperation of the city. Most people were not opposing this machine at that time in the 30s. It was a wide open town and everybody was a part of the party.
Despite prohibition, Pendergast's machine and a bribed police force allowed alcohol and gambling. This turned Kansas City into a wild, wet, and loose town, nicknamed the Paris of the Plains.
Kansas City was a wide-open town. Prohibition didn't even exist here. There were hundreds of speakeasies downtown, close to where we have our distillery, and there was so much entertainment and people were craving it. You know, these were not happy times, and when people wanted to go out and celebrate, if they could afford it, they went to a speakeasy and got a drink, and they might want to hear some music, so the jazz scene flourished. It was a glamorous time. You know, you didn't go out in your jeans and your work shirt. You went out dressed up.
How Pendergast would make money was basically how you would see today's mafia. So he was getting back revenue from every delivery that was made of liquor. There was never prohibition here in Kansas City. The liquor flowed like the Missouri River. So it was constant that Pendergast was getting receipts from all the wholesale liquor that he ran, from every bond issue that was passed to get Brush Creek done with $80 million for a concrete project. All of that had backflush money going to Pendergast, to the machine. Not only was it the city bond issues, but every drop of alcohol that was flowing here was going, some of that revenue was going to Pendergast.
After Prohibition ended, Pendergast turned a blind eye to mob-related shootings and election violence. The situation in Kansas City became an embarrassment to state and federal officials. Despite Pendergast's history of delivering votes for Roosevelt and other leading Democrats, a U.S. attorney named Morris Milligan prosecuted the Pendergast machine.
My great-great-uncle brought Pendergast down on tax evasion charges, so by the time his power had waned, my uncle was able to take him down and pretty much bring the whole Pendergast machine down.
I think what encapsulates our entire story is that Pendergast himself is in prison for the last 2 years of his life. A Kansas City Star reporter goes and interviews him and said, "How did you do this? How did you create 250 speakeasies, the birth of jazz, the Paris of the Plains?" And his comment to this reporter was, "The people are thirsty." And that is so irreverent and so fun and so ballsy, and that is the attitude that we want to bring to all of this. The people are thirsty.